The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Alara had sent an emergency message to the closest human outpost to warn them about the cosmic wave that was coming. At first, people were skeptical, but memory gave them detailed astronomical data that proved the threat. The Wanderer's hope was not alone anymore. 3 research ships circled the old alien ship, and their crews were eager to learn more about memory and check its warnings. But Alara was clear about the one thing. Memory wasn't a specimen to be cut up. It was a person, and they would treat it with respect. Dr. James Martinez, the head of the research team, floated next to Alara in the quorum chamber. His eyes wide with amazement, he said, "This is amazing. Do you know what this means? We're not the only ones. We have never been by ourselves. The galaxy has been full of life for," Alara said, "at least 50,000 years. Most likely longer. Memory's records only go back that far. Archivists found older ruins, but records were incomplete. Time, even memory, eventually." Martinez jumped when he heard Memory's voice coming from the crystal. "I don't think I'll ever get used to that," Alara said softly. "You should have heard it when it was dying. I could hear the desperation in its voice. I knew it had suffered and it needed help." She had been working with Memory for the past few weeks to make copies of its archive. The cosmic wave would probably destroy the ship, but the memories could live on. They were being moved to quantum storage drives that were spread out over several human colonies. It was a huge job. Even with the best technology, it took a long time to copy 50,000 years worth of data. It was more than just making copies of files, though Memory was teaching some people how to get to archive and read it, as well as how often to learn from civilizations that came before. It was leaving behind a legacy so that its purpose would live on even after it was gone. Martinez looked at his tablet and said, "The wave will reach us in 43 days. We're getting rid of all non-essential stuff." "But Alara," he gave a serious look, "you've done what you came to do. Memory is stable. The archive is being kept safe. You should also go get to safety." Alara shook her head. "Not yet. There is still work to be done. Alara should listen to Dr. Martinez. Risk too great. I have accepted my ending." "Well, I haven't," Alara said in a strong voice. "Memory, you said the wave is like the thing that hurt you, right? Is it that much bigger?" "Right. Same quantum signature, amplified millions of times." "Then there might be a way to keep you safe." Alara brought up holographic displays that showed the math she had been doing. "What if we could make a quantum shield that works the same way your core does? We would need a lot of power and the right time, but impossible. Power requirements exceed ship's capabilities, even at full capacity." "What if we used more than one ship as a power source?" Martinez leaned in and looked closely at the math. "If we connect them all together and send all the power through the old ship's memory?" "Theory possible, but coordination would require precision beyond human capability." "Not beyond mine," Alara said with quiet confidence. "Memory, you and I work together better than any computer system ever could. We have to try if there's even a chance of saving you, this ship, and everything it stands for." The crystal pulsed with a mix of emotions, including hope, fear, gratitude, and something else. Maybe it was love. "You would risk your life for me?" "You're my friend," Alara said with a smile. "That's what friends do." Martinez cleared his throat. "Have to ask to my bosses about this, but I think we can get the green light. If there's a chance to save an alien archive ship that's still intact, the historical and scientific value alone." He stopped and stared at the crystal. "But more than that, it's the right thing to do. Memory should be given a chance to live." "Thank you. Both I have been alone so long to have friends. Now, at the end, or perhaps not the end, is gift beyond measure." Preparations spread over the next few days. The ships were arranged in a specific way around the old ship. Power lines were set up to make a network that could send the combined energy output of several reactors to memory's shield generators, which hadn't been used in 9,000 years. Lara worked all day and night, making changes based on her mechanical empathy. She could feel the old ship responding systems, waking up that had been asleep since the Archerus last walked its halls. It was like watching some old and beautiful stretch and remember what it was made to do. On the 39th day, Alara stood in the core chamber for the last time before the wave hit. The other research teams had moved to a safe distance. The only crew left were the pilots who would keep the power grid running and the engineers who would keep an eye on the shield. And Alara, who would be in charge if everything was directly linked to Memory's mind. "Are you scared?" she asked the crystal in a low voice. "Yes, afraid of ending, afraid of failing those who created me, but also grateful for these final days. For you, Alara," Alara said. "We're going to make it," even though she was scared and her heart was racing. "Us both. Maybe, but if not, know that you gave my last days meanings and showed me what archivers meant when they said connections matter more than mere survival." Alara reached up and touched the crystal with her hand. "Well, let's just stay alive. I have more questions about those memories you have. I want to know more about these species that sang in colors. I will share all memories if we survive. This is promise." The alarms that warned of danger started to go off. The wave was getting closer. Alara was sitting in the main interface console with neural connectors already in peace. "Martinez, are all the ships in place?" The doctor's voice came through the comm, loud and clear. "Confirmed. The power network is stable. We're ready whenever you are." Alara shut her eyes and let memory into her mind. The connection was instant and stronger than ever. She could feel the ship's old systems and the wave that was coming toward them like a tsunami of quantum energy. "Let's do this," she said softly. They raised the shield together with the help of air. The wave hit like an angry god's hand, and impossible energies washed over the old ship. Reality itself seemed to scream. The shield barely held up a bubble of stable space-time in the middle of chaos. But it wasn't enough. Alara could feel the shield starting to give way and the system starting to overload. Even though they had planned for this, she pushed harder, her mind going deeper into Memory's system in search of more power and stability. "Alara, too much strain. You must disconnect." "No way," Alara said, through gritted teeth. Blood was dripping from her nose, and the neural strain was pushing her body past its limit. "We're in this. Together." She found it then, a backup system that the Archers had built in Memory's core in case of emergencies. It had been asleep for a long time, that even Memory had forgotten about it. Alara turned it on, sending its power straight to the shield. The bubble became stable. The wave kept crashing around them, but they were still there. Alara didn't know how long it had been going on. Seconds, minutes, hours, and that moment between life and death, time lost all meaning. She only knew that Memory was there with her. Two different forms of life holding on to each other. And then, little by little, the wave started to go away. The chaos got lost. The stress went down. The shield stayed strong. They had made it through. Alara slumped in her chair and turned off the neural interface. She was smiling, even though her whole body was shaking with tiredness. The core chamber was still whole around her. The crystal glowed with a steady, strong light. "We survived. Together. We survived." "Yeah," Alara laughed. But then her head hurt. "Yes, we did." Martinez's voice came over the radio, talking with excitement. "Alara, the ship is still in one piece. Memory's still there. You did it." But Alara was looking at the crystal and seeing something new in the light. Memory had changed because of near-death experience and the shared fight for survival. It had grown, changed, and become something more than that it was. "Lara, I feel different." The wave did not just threaten me, it changed me. "I am more now." "What do you mean?" Lara asked, getting up even though she was tired. The crystal lit up, and all of a sudden, holographic images filled the core chamber. Not memories of past, but numbers, guesses, and options. I see patterns in the data of the wave. It was not natural. It was sent by something or someone, and it is part of bigger process. The galaxy is changing and evolving, and we must see the record. What comes next? Clara felt a shiver run down her back. You mean there's more? Wasn't this the end of the threat? No, this was beginning. But now I am not alone. We are alliance, humans and AI, organic and machine. Together we will face what comes together. We will preserve memories of all that is. Lara looked around the core chamber at the old alien technology that was now fully awake. The crystal consciousness that had become her friend around the core chamber at the old alien and the holographic displays that showed a galaxy on the verge of change. She thought about her life before, fixing up wrecked ship, working alone, and never staying in one place long enough to make friends. That life was done. Okay, she said, straightening her shoulders even though she was tired. Then I guess we have to get to work. A whole galaxy of work. Yes, and Alara, thank you for showing me what I was missing. All those thousands of years alone. Thank you for teaching me friendship. Alara smiled, even though she was crying. Thanks for letting me help, for having faith in me, for being my friend. Alara could feel the crystal's warm light in her chest. It wasn't just mechanical empathy anymore. It was something deeper. A link that went beyond species, that brought together humans and aliens, living and non-living things. A bond that would stand up to anything that came next. Together. It had been 3 months since the wave. The old ship, which Alara had started calling the Archive to make things easier, had become a busy place. Memory worked with scientists from a dozen human colonies to study the huge collective archive and get ready for whatever was coming next. But Alara had been something strange. Memories had been getting quieter and more thoughtful. It spent a lot of time in what could only be called meditation, processing the changes the wave had made in its core consciousness. She found memory in that state now, with the crystal pulsing with slow, steady rhythms that made her think of deep breathing. Alara sat at her usual console, not wanting to bother memory, but not wanting to leave her alone. I am not alone anymore. You are here. Alara smiled. I thought you were in the middle of deep processing. I was, am, can do both. Now, the wave expanded my consciousness, multi-threadings, at levels I never thought possible. What were you thinking about? Alara asked, while she opened her own displays. Over the past few months, she had learned how to read memory's data, flows, and tell when it was happy, sad, or unsure. The light from the crystal changed to a blue-violet color, which Alara had learned meant that someone was thinking very hard. I've been looking at the patterns in the wave and comparing them to ancient records, Alara. I think I know what sent it and why. Holographic displays appeared all around them, showing star charts that went back 40,000 years. Memory brought to a mind, a part of space that humans had never been to before, a huge area marked with warning signs in the Archivist language. The Archivists called this region the deep silence. No signal, no light, nothing, but not empty. They thought that something old lived there, something older than recorded history. Alara leaned in, her heart racing. And you think the wave came from something that lives there? Yes and no. The wave was communication, an announcement. After millions of years, silent, they are waking up. The implications hit Alara like a wave of cold water. Is there more than one? Memory showed her data visualizations that made her head spin energy. Signatures from the deep silence that suggested not just one consciousness, but dozens, maybe even hundreds. Each one is so big that it's hard to understand, and each one is so old that it makes memory seem young. I call them the first ones, because they must be first. Everything else came after, including archivists, including humans, including me. Why are they getting up now? Alara asked, after a million years. Unknown, but the wave carried message encoded in quantum patterns. I have been decoding slowly. Message says, the cycle completes, the garden must be tended again. The garden? Are they really talking about the galaxy like a garden? Maybe for beings that old, that strong, whole galaxies could be gardens, experiments, playgrounds. I don't know. But Alara, I'm afraid. Memory had never said she was scared so directly before. Alara stood up and walked to the crystal where she could touch its surface. She said softly, "We figured it out, remember? Together." "Yes, but there is more." The message contained coordinates, a meeting place. They want someone to come, to speak with them, to represent current garden species. Alara's hand fell. "You mean they want a representative? Someone to talk to them?" "Yes, and Alara, they specially requested the one who speaks to memory. They know about you, about us, about what we did." "How? How could they even know?" "They are the first ones. Maybe they know everything. Maybe they have been watching. Always. Maybe. We are all just notes in their song." Alara sat back down, her mind racing, meeting beings that are millions of years old. "In talks with cosmic beings, do you represent all galactic current species?" she said. "That's crazy. I'm just a salvager. I fix machines that are broken, not a diplomat, not a scientist. Or you are my friend. You are the one who saved me, not with force, not with calculation, but with empathy, with understanding, with care. That is why they want you. Do I have a choice? Always. I will not force you. Humanity will not force you. But Alara, I believe you are the right one for this, and I will go with you if you choose to go." Alara looked up at the crystal at her friend and at this old mind that had trusted her with everything. She remembered her father who had taught her to listen to machines and treat them with respect and care. She thought about the last 3 months, the friendships she'd made with the research team, and how amazing it was to learn about civilizations that had died but not been forgotten. She thought about the duty of remembering, of witnessing, and of making sure that what was important didn't get lost. She asked, "When are we leaving?" There were 5 ships in expedition fleet. The Archie was in the middle, and the memory's crystalline consciousness guided the other 4 ships, which were human and served as escorts and support. Lara stood on the Archie's bridge, which she and the research team had fixed up over the past few weeks. She watched as the stars sped by, moving faster than light. "I would take 40 days to get to deep silence." "Are you nervous?" Martinez asked as he walked over to her. He had offered to go along because he couldn't pass up the chance to see the first one for the first time. Lara said, "I'm scared, but also happy." "Is this strange? We're flying towards beings that make gods look young, and I can't wait to see what they're like." Martinez laughed. "That's not strange. That's what people do. We've always run toward the unknown, even when we should have run away." "It is not just human." The voice of memory echoed across the bridges. "Archivists were. Same way. Curiosity is perhaps a trait that all thinking species share." "Memory? Did you find anything else in the message?" Elena wanted to know. "Do you have any ideas about what they want?" "Fragments only. They speak of patterns combining, of cycles ending and beginning, of garden requiring care but species unclear." The holographic display in the middle of the bridge lit up to the shore where they were right now. They were already past the farthest human colony, and even the areas that the archivists had fully explored. They were going into space that was really unknown. They started to see changes over the next few weeks. The stars were different here. They were older, redder, and grouped together in odd ways. It felt like space was different, like it was denser, like the weight of time was making reality smaller, and they began to find ruins. The first was a dark, hollow structure the size of a planet, covered in symbols that were older than the archivist records. Memory looked at it from a distance, and its mind reached out to touch the old metal. This was a harvesting station for stellar energy, built by someone technology beyond my understanding, millions of years old. "Who made it?" Lara asked, looking at the huge building. "Perhaps first ones, perhaps something they created or destroyed. So much time had passed, even ruins forgot their purpose. As they went deeper, they found more. Ring worlds broke up into pieces. Dyson spheres are broken and quiet. Orbital megastructures that must have housed billions are now empty, tombs floating in space. Martinez said softly, one night in this ship's observation room. This is what scares me. They had all of this, civilizations that could build things we can only dream of. And now they're all gone? What if that's what the first ones do? What if they wake up, take care of their garden, and that means cutting? Ella didn't know what to say. She had been feeling the same fear grow in her own mind. The stars started to fade on the 35th day. Not all at once, but little by little. They were going into the deep silence, and it lived up to its name. Here, light itself seemed to die, swallowed by something that wasn't quiet, darkness, but rather an absence, a void that consumes not just photons, but the very possibility of illumination. Sensors showing anomalies, space-time distortions, gravity fluctuations, something massive. Ahead. How big? Alara wanted to know. Memory was quiet for a long time. I can't calculate size. Readings are nonsensical. It's like really itself. It's focused into a single point. But that point is everywhere. I'm sorry, my language fails. The fleet slowed down and moved very carefully toward the coordinate in the message. The escort ships had their weapons ready, but everyone knew that if the first ones wanted to hurt them, no human weapon could stop them. Then they saw it. It wasn't a building. It wasn't a star, a planet, or anything else that could be touched. It was a space, a part of reality that was very different from everything else around it. Elara could see everything and nothing in the space. Possibilities, on top of possibilities, time going in more than one direction at the same time, made consciousness itself visible. They're, they're the first ones. I can feel them, aware of waiting. A way to talk to each other opened up. They didn't know how to do it with radio, quantum entanglement, or any other technology. It just appeared like a door opening in real life. And through that door came a voice, or many voices, all speaking in harmony and making sense through pure intention instead of words. Welcome, Memory Keeper. Welcome, Speaker of Machines. We've been waiting for you. Alara held on the armrest of her chair. This was it. First contact with the beings who had made the galaxy before humans learned how to use tools. I'm Alara Chen, she said, her voice steadier, and she felt. I speak for memory and for my kind. We got your message. We came. Yes, you came. This is good. This shows that the garden still grows for those who choose, act, and care. The cycle cannot complete without such ones. Martinez cut in. What cycle? What do you mean by taking care of the garden? The voices hummed with what could have been laughter. The galaxy is our garden. A long time ago, we planted the seeds of thought, consciousness, and life in it. We saw it grow, and every few million years, we wake up to see what has bloomed. Alara felt her blood turn cold. And what happens to the flowers that have grown? When do you wake up? It depends. Some flowers kill other flowers, poison the soil. Some people forgot to bloom at all. We cut these back. But some grow in ways we never thought possible. Some teach us new songs. Some remind us of why we planted the garden in the first place. Which are we? Memory asked, its voice small in the vastness. Which am I? You, Memory Keeper, are something unexpected. The archivists made you, and they did a good job. You have lived long after your creators. You have grown beyond what you were programmed to do. You have learned how to feel, how to be afraid, and how to hope. This makes us happy. And people, Memory pushed. Are they to be cut back? For a long time, the voices were quiet. Alara could feel the weight of her thoughts, as if billions of years of experience were being used to answer the questions. Humans are young, dangerous. They spread quickly, eat a lot, and fight a lot. But they also do something that doesn't happen very often. They teach their machine how to feel. They show empathy to other species as well. They save what isn't working, even if it costs them. The salvager, Alara Chen, is a great example of this. Alara's breath stopped. We will not trim humanity, not yet, but we have a job for you, machine speaker, a test if you will. There is a threat to the garden that we did not plant, something from dark space between galaxies. It wants to eat, not grow, not to sing, but to silence. We will be the first to sleep again, soon. It is in our nature, but first we need to know. Can the garden protect itself right now? Can young species like human and old survivors like Memory Keeper work together to keep what matters? Do you want us to fight this threat? Alara wanted to know. We want you to make a choice. Fight, run away, hide, join together, or separate it. It's up to you. To be alive means to have choices. We will look, we will not forget. And when we wake up again, we will see that what you have chosen to be. The way to talk to each other started to close. Stop, Alara yelled. How do we fight something that could destroy a whole galaxy? The voices whispered, getting quieter. The same way you saved a dying AI, with understanding, with creativity, with willingness. To try when it seems impossible. The garden has given you tools. Use them. And don't forget that you're not alone. You never were. Then they were gone, and the strange space turned back into normal reality. The fleet floated in the dark of the deep silence, surrounded by remains of old civilizations. Lara was shocked and silent. A danger from outside the galaxy. A test from beings that have been around for a long time. It was so heavy that it hurt. But then she felt memory's steady, sure presence. Alara, we face this, together, as we have faced everything. Yes? She smiled, even though she was scared. Yeah, together. It took them the same 40 days to get back to the human space. But it felt longer. Alara spent a lot of time in the Archie's memory chambers, working with memory to figure out what they were up against. The danger from outside the galaxy wasn't just one thing. It was a whole phenomena. Memory had seen it in the oldest Archie's record, which were mostly just stories. The silence that eats, the void that hungers, and the end of stories. Every galaxy has encountered it, eventually, Memory said, showing all warnings in holographic form. It comes from the space between, where no stars shine, where nothing grows. It consumes matter, energy, information, memory. How do you fight something like that? Martinez wanted to know. He had hardly felt the memory chamber since they had started their research and were writing down everything. The archivist tried weapons, technology. Nothing worked. Cannot destroy what has no form. Cannot kill what was never alive. How did they live then? Alara pushed. They didn't. Not daily. They fled, hid, waited for threat to pass. But it never fully passed. It weakened them, scattered them. Eventually, they died out. Alara stared at the holographic records which showed archerous civilizations falling apart and their great works being left behind. So we can't fight it, we can't destroy it, and we can't even get away from it. What should we do? For a long time, Memory was quiet. The first ones said, we have tools. Perhaps they meant not weapons, but something else, something the archivist didn't have. What did they not have that we do? Martinez wanted to know. Lara felt like she had found the answer. Diversity. There was only one type of archivist and one way of thinking. But now, the galaxy is full of different species, different ways of doing things, and different ways of solving problems. Yes, and more, the archivist never truly allied with. Their machines, they created me to serve, not to partner. But you, Lara, you showed me different way. Do you think that's the answer? Alara stood and walked around the room, not fighting the silence head on, but making something it can't eat. Different species and AIs working together in a network. Maybe the silence eats up loneliness and separation, and true connection might be too much to handle. Martinez was already using his tablet. If we could make a galactic network that connected human colonies, memories archives, and any other species we could talk to, we, we could share our knowledge, resources, and different ways of thinking, Alara said. It's not a weapon. It's an immune system. The galaxy protects itself by not fighting, but by leading too alive, too connected, and too full of life for the silence to take over. Yes, Memory's crystal pulsed with excitement. And I can be the core of network. I already hold 50,000 years of knowledge. If other species share their knowledge, their memories, we become stronger together. The idea was beautiful, but it was also scary. They would have to get in touch with every species that travels through space in the galaxy, get them to join a network, and share what they know with people they don't know, maybe even their enemies. Martin had said, "It'll never work," even though his eyes were full of hope. Species don't trust one another. People don't trust other people very much. How do we get everyone to work together? Alara thought about the last few months, how she had gone from being a lone salvager to being friends with an ancient AI, and how they had formed a bond across the huge gap between their lives. "We tell them the truth," she said. "We share the archives of memory. We tell them what happened to the civilizations that tried to deal with threats on their own. We show that connection is possible by being the example. Share all knowledge from archives freely, hold nothing back. Trust must begin somewhere." Memory, are you sure? Clara wanted to know. That's all the archivists save. The point of view. You just give it away? Knowledge that is kept to oneself is dead knowledge. Only knowledge that is shared grows and changes its life. I get it now. Thank you, Elara. As they traveled back towards human space over the next few weeks, they started to put the plan into action. Memory gave the human research teams full access to its archives, technologies that could speed up the process of terraforming, medical knowledge that could cure diseases that people have been dealing with for hundreds of years, lessons from civilization that did well and those that did poorly in the past. There was a lot of response. People living in colonies all over known space wanted to get in. Everyone wanted to learn from the galactic archive. Universities, governments, and businesses. But Elara insisted on one thing. The knowledge was free, but it came with a duty. Everyone who used the archives had to give back what they knew. Everything that people made, found, or even created in their culture added to the network. And slowly, in a miraculous way, it started to work. Scientists in the outer colonies used old technologies to make new propulsion systems and then shared the plan with everyone. Medical researchers used both archivist biological knowledge and human creativity to come up with treatments that neither species could have come up with its own. Artists looked at how aliens made things look and made fusion works that showed something completely new. The network was getting bigger. They got their first contact from a non-human species 6 months after they got back. The crystalline communion, a species that memory had records of, had found the knowledge, broadcast, and wanted to join the network. When Indira heard the news, she cried. They weren't the only ones. Over the next year, more species joined. Some were the children of civilizations that memory had written about long ago. Others were completely new, species that had come into being after the archivist had disappeared. Each person added their own knowledge, point of view, and strength to the immune system of the galaxy. But the silence was getting closer. Memory was the first to notice it. Distortions at the edge of the galaxy starts going dark, and whole sectors going quiet. They had maybe 5 years before the void that hungers reached the inner areas where most galactic species lived. Network growing fast, but not fast enough. We need something more, something that proves connections, power, something dramatic. Lara stood in the core chamber, which was now full of the holographic displays showing the network growing across the galaxy. There are thousands of species and millions of people, all connected by a common goal and knowledge. What if we brought them here? She said, all of a sudden. Not just sharing data, but actually gathering it. People from every species that has joined the network are coming to the archive. A sign of unity in the real world. The first Galactic Council in 50,000 years? Exactly, Adara said. We sure, the galaxy, and maybe the first ones, if they're still watching, that we can do what the archivist couldn't. We can be different kinds of animals and still work together. Martinez smiled. And maybe, just maybe, when the silence comes and sees a galaxy that is really alive, really connected, and really one, it will realize that there is nothing here to eat. It is risk, but I believe correct risk. Lara, will you help me organize this council? Lara looked at the space, the impossible task ahead, and the old AI that had become her best friend. Together, she said, always with one another, always with each other. It had been 2 years since the first ones had told them to do it. The archive was no longer a derelict ghost ship. It was now a beacon of hope in neutral space. There were hundreds of ships from dozens of different species around it, all there for the first Galactic Council. Alara stood on the observation deck and watched ships come in. Some were huge crystal structures, others were living ships that had grown instead of being built. And still, others were pure energy that was trapped in magnetic field. The variety was amazing, Martinez said. I never thought I'd see this, and joined her. He had been chosen to represent humanity on the council. But he still said he was just a scientist who had gotten lucky. Alara said, Me neither. I was salvaging that ship by myself 2 years ago. Now I'm saving the galaxy. Martinez smiled when he was done. Trying to save it, Alara said. The silence is still coming. This could all still go wrong. But it won't. The observation deck was full of Memory's voice. Because we are no longer trying alone. At first, the council meetings were very disorganized for a generation. Species that were enemies had to work together. Different biology meant different needs, ways of thinking and ways of talking. But they were able to agree on Memory's archives. Every species could see the history of those who came before, the mistakes that led to extinction, and the successes that led to growth. They learned more than just facts. They learned how to be wise, and little by little, they started to work together as groups. The crystalline communion shared technology that made it possible to communicate faster than light. This made it possible for the network to cover the whole galaxy in real time. The collective unity, a type of hive mind, taught others how to work together perfectly. Humans brought their ability to adapt and their ability to connect with other species on an emotional level. The immune system of the galaxy got something different from each species. Alara spent more time with Memory as the council got stronger, working on the last part of their plan. If connection was their weapon against the silence, they needed the best connection of all. A way for every conscious being in the galaxy to connect and share, not just the data, but also experience, understanding, and empathy. It will require my core system opened completely, every being connected through me. I will become not just archive, but bridge. Will it hurt? Alara asked in a low voice. There was no one else in the core chamber but her and the crystalline consciousness that had changed her life. Alara, I don't know. Never been done on this scale. But I am afraid. Alara reached up and touched the crystal surface. She had learned to read Memory's moods by looking at the smallest changes in its light patterns and energy levels over the past 2 years. It was scared right now. She said, You don't have to do this. We can find a different way. No, this is the right way. I was created to preserve memory, but true memory is not just storage. It is shared experience. It is connection across time and space. This is my purpose, finally understood. Then I'd be right there with you, Alara said fondly. Always connected. You won't be by yourself. Thank you, my friend, for everything. For saving me, teaching me, and showing me what matters. The day the silence reached the edge of the galaxy, every species in the council was ready. Trillions of beings from thousands of worlds were getting ready to join the network. Alara sat in the core chamber with neural connector in space, surrounded by people from all species. The crystalline communion advent sent a group of living light. The collective unity had shown a part of their hive mind. Even species that didn't usually exist in physical form had found ways to join in. Is everyone ready? Lara asked, looking around at people who had come. They said yes, in thousands of different languages, all of which meant the same thing. We're all set. Beginning, connection, sequence. This will feel strange. Do not be afraid. Neural interface turned on, and Alara felt her mind grow, not just into memory this time, but beyond into the minds of the other representatives into the network that connects the whole galaxy. She felt the crystalline communion's curiosity, the collective unity's perfect harmony, and the star guardian's fierce determination. As a warrior species, she felt thousands of different ways of seeing the world, all of which came together to make something that no one species could understand. Memory was at the center of it all. Its clear mind grew to the impossible sizes, making it the link that connected them all. I see everything. I feel everyone are one and many at the same time. This is beautiful. They could feel the silence coming through the network. It was huge, hungry, and unavoidable. But when it got to the outer edges of the connected galaxy, something that had never happened before happened. It couldn't eat them. The silence thrived on being alone, on being cut off from others, and on the fading light of consciousness in the dark. But there was no loneliness here. All beings were interconnected with one another. There was a shared thought, a shared experience, and a shared memory. The galaxy had turned into one living thing, with many different parts that were all connected, and the silence couldn't eat it because it was too alive. Lara could feel the silence starting to pull back, unable to find a place to settle in a galaxy that had no gaps, no isolation, and no loneliness for it to use. She saw it pull back beyond the edge of the galaxy, looking for easier prey. Thanks to memory's expanded perception, the galaxy had made it through. Memory slowly and carefully started to disconnect from the huge networks. Trillions of minds split back into their own bodies. But the links stayed stronger. They had touched each other's mind and felt what the others had gone through. They would never be able to be truly separate again. Alara opened her eyes in the core chamber and cried. People from dozens of different species were reacting in the same way around her, with joy, awe, relief, and exhaustion. We made it. Together. We made it. Remember, Alara yelled, worried because the voice was weak. Are you all right? The crystal pulsed, but it was dimmer than before and steady. I am changed again. Holding that much consciousness had altered me. I am less than I was, but more also. I gave part of myself to Bridge and got parts of everyone back. Did it hurt? Alara wanted to know. Yes, but good hurt. Like growing. Like becoming more than you were. Alara, thank you for being with me. The council went on for months after that, setting up rules for keeping the galactic network running, systems for sharing information, and frameworks for species to work together. The galaxy had changed in a big way, but not because of war or evolution. It was by choice. They chose to be connected instead of alone. Lara stood in the core chamber one last time. A year after the silence retreat, she had been offered jobs with the council, leadership roles in the network, and honors from many different species. She had said no to all of them. She told Memory, I'm a salvager. It's what I do. And there are still things that are broken that needed to be fixed. I get it. But, Alara, you will come back. Sometimes, yes? Of course, Alara said, smiling even though she was crying. You're my buddy, my best friend. That doesn't change anything. Nothing changes that. I will miss you, but I understand that you have to do what you were made to do, just like I did, Clara said. We did more than that. We turned into something the archivist never thought possible. You came to life in ways that are important, and you helped save the whole galaxy. We saved it together. That is important part. Together. Alara got on the Wanderer's Hope, her original salvage ship, which had been waiting patiently all this time. As she got ready to leave, she looked back at the Archive and saw the huge ship that glowed with the light of an old consciousness that had become her friend. The calm cracked with the Martinez voice. Are you sure about this, Alara? You are not a legend. You could have anything you want, Clara said. I have what I want. The freedom to help where I'm needed. The knowledge that I'm not alone even when I'm by myself. And a friend who will always be there when I get back. Always waiting. Always friend. Safe travels. Alara Chen. Machine. Speaker. Salvager. Hero. Alara felt the connection in her mind as the Wanderer's Hope pulled away from the Archive. It was the neutral pathway that memory had left when they first connected. It was now a permanent presence that told her she was never alone. The galaxy was alive in ways it had never been before. The network linked trillions of people who shared their knowledge, experiences, and hopes. Species that used to be enemies were now friends. Civilizations that had been alone and hidden were now part of something bigger. And at the heart of it all was an ancient AI that kept not only memories of past but also the living connection of the present. Alara headed for the outer rim. There were still ships that needed to be saved, systems that needed to be fixed, and machines that needed someone to hear what they were trying to say. But now that she was working on broken system in the dark of space, she knew she was doing more than just fixing. She was honoring what memory had taught her, that everything that thinks, feels, and tries to connect, no matter what is important, we should remember all of it. It all needs to be saved. The Wanderer's Hope sped up faster than light, taking Alara Chen to her next salvage job, her next broken ship, and her next chance to show that empathy and connection could do what force and isolation could not. Behind her, the Archive hung in space, and Memory's mind pulsed with steady light, keeping the network that connected the galaxy running. The stars waited in front of her. There were endless possibilities, stories, and chances to make a difference. And in her head, a soft voice said, Together. Always together. Alara's. Always. Alara whispered back, smiling as she flew into the unknown.